it's Heidi here from flutterbyheidi.co.uk, back again with another project for you using the Happy Tales stamp set. Lovely dog-based, dog-themed stamp set, and I'm using the coordinating punch that goes with it as well. And you can get those in a bundle together with 10% off, or you can buy them individually if you just wanted the stamp set. Or the punch, obviously. And today what I'm making is a variation on an easel card. And obviously easel card's been around a long time, but I thought this one loaned itself to one that just, as you can see, comes up at the front here only. So it looks like a very straightforward card to start off with, but it just pops up and you see Keep Calm and Wag On as well that we've created there. And again, as with all of this series, I'm using the same designer series paper, which is the Wood Textures paper. It comes in 6x6 and it's got all sorts of wood effect colours, light, dark, you know, sort of detailed tree rings and tree effects through to kind of more like laminate flooring type effects as well. Really useful to have in your stash. So a good card for you if you're beginning with fancy folds, because it only requires a couple of bits of scoring. So I'm starting off with a piece of card that's 5 3/4 inches, 14.5 centimetres in length, and I'm cutting that to 8 inches. And if you're working in centimetres, that's going to be 21 centimetres, so you'll use the full width. You're going to score that first of all at 4 inches, and then again the single score line at 7 inches. And that's as simple as that in terms of the scoring. So that's our card base. We're then going to cut our DSP, and I'm using slightly different shade, but a DSP here that I'm going to cut at 5 3/4 inches to start off with. Just trim it down to the same width as the cardstock. So that's our same 14.5 centimetres. And then I want a piece that's 1.5 inches wide. Another piece that is 1 inch wide, which I'm just cutting at the side here. It's not very helpful, was it? So I'm cutting 1 inch, measuring on the side here, so 2.5 centimetres. And I'm then cutting a third piece, which is 3 inches wide. So you're kind of using most of the DSP for one of those pieces. So you'll end up with 3 pieces, like so. I then want some cards. So I want some early espresso, and this is to make the stepper itself. So again, I've cut this to 5 3/4, and I want a piece that's 1 inch in width. So I'm going to use the side measurement here. That's my 1 inch piece. And then I'm doing the same with my crumb cake. Just trim that to 5 3/4. And I want a piece that's 3/4 of an inch. So again, cut from the bottom up on the right hand side, and that makes the stepper to go along the front and gives you a nice border as well. Pop our trimmer away and on with the stamping. So in this instance, pop that to one side. I'm actually going to be stamping my dog onto a piece of DSP as well, because I thought that almost gave us sort of a kind of textured effect. I'm going to do a bit of sponging as well on that. I'm going to cut out a dog to go behind to kind of give our slightly dropped shadow as well. So we'll start off with our stamping, and I'm going to use some early espresso ink as well as donking my lamp as well. So using our outline dog, I'm just inking that up. So tap, 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 and pop it on. I think this bit looks kind of slightly more, has fewer kind of grain lines. And then I'm going to get a sponge and just using my sort of sponge dauber, I'm actually going to just kind of just add a bit of shading to our dog as well. Then you can punch the dog out it to one side. And so I'm going to punch a second one out, just by angling that very slightly, in early espresso as well. Now I'm going to do some stamping on my piece of crumb cake, and what I've done here is, you'll see I've stamped in crumb cake ink on the crumb cake the paw print, and use the espresso for the words. So with the words I'm just going to come across, and then with this paw print. And as you can see, I'm just stamping those off slightly to the effect of paw prints coming across the card. Just pop one in that little gap there. Pop that to one side. And then my sentiment that I'm going to use is here. And all I'm going to do is just stamp that onto a scrap piece of card that I've got here. And that's crumb cake. Don't want to do it on crumb cake, I want something a bit darker. Because it's a lighter ink, I'm not going to clean off, I'm just going to stamp that on. There we go. And then while I've got my piece of Whisper White, I'm going to stamp the the kennel outline in early espresso as well. I'm going to come in with the house. I'm going to do that in early espresso as well, but because that obviously wouldn't show if I used the stamp, I'm going to stamp that off to one side and then come in again. You see that fills it in quite nicely as well. Then the last little bit that I'm going to do is to punch a circle out of my DSP, and I'm just not quite doing a full circle, I'm leaving a straight edge at the bottom there. That's for my for the edge, and I'm going to just get a piece of scrap card just to reinforce as well. Because it's DSP and it's almost like a pop-up, you want it to have a little bit more substance. So by just adding that onto the front there, it'll give us a bit more strength to it. So I can just pop that onto my cardstock circle. And then I can start doing some cutting out. So I'm just going to cut out the kennel, just use a little bit of fussy cutting. Now, if you were struggling if you're struggling with scissors, then you could perhaps cut this out using a circle as well, and just have it as a layer on top. So you haven't always got to sort of do lots of fussy cutting. I like it because it just means you can add a little bit of dimension. I don't do lots of it, and I certainly do. I do very little. Not that I don't do it. I do very little floral kind of fussy cutting because I just kind of, it's like, no. But I also like to show you when you don't, it doesn't matter that you haven't got a die or a punch for it. You can still create something really pretty. So there's our little kennel to go on the front there. And I'm just going to lift that up with a couple of dimensionals to give that bit of height. So you just pop that like so. And then we're going to, with our dog, I'm just going to pop some glue all over the back there, and I'm just going to, you'll see, say offset, so just pop it down slightly to one side, and you've kind of got an instant shadow effect on there, which happens to be the name of my dog. just saying. And then with each of the words of these, I've just cut these out freehand. So what I usually do is kind of cut strips to try and get it as straight as possible. I'll cut that away. As I've said before, when I'm fussy cutting, I tend to cut the waste away first. And that's a tricky one because they kind of almost overlap. And when I've cut them into strips, I then just come in. And this is just to show that you haven't always got to keep a sentiment in the way it is. I mean, this one is lovely because it actually fits alongside the dog. So you can actually stamp that alongside like so. It's designed to go like that, but you haven't always got to use it like that. And I think that's important, that you can stamp it and cut it out. Just be careful when you're stamping, when you're cutting, that all those little bits don't fly everywhere else and you don't sweep them up, which is what I tend to do when you're trying to clear up. Right, so keep calm and wag on. Okay, I now know I can pop those bits across to the side. So we've got our pieces here. So what I'm going to do is pop this flat onto our early espresso. That just needs leaving a border either side. Then each of these is going to have a little mini dimensional on the back. If you struggle with these, we've got a fabulous tool. You know, you can get just a standard pokey tool, or you can actually, we now do a lovely multi-tool as well. I tend to have this one on my craft desk at the moment. I just haven't got around, so life's been so busy, to using my multi-tool as much yet. But you know, it's there, and I have to say I do tend to keep it in my craft bag, so when I go out I've kind of got everything I need handy. And so sometimes I'm just trying to centre this, so the kind of the "and" is roughly in the centre, and I'm just changing the angle of these as I go along. So yeah, I like to have I do tend to have a few duplicates, because I found when I didn't have duplicates, all that happened was I'd go to do something and I'd find it was in my craft bag, or I'd be out and about and I'd find that actually it was on my table. So when I find I've got something that I really use a lot, I do tend to put it into my craft stash. So now we're pretty much ready to assemble our card. I recommend one of the first things that you get as a new crafter is a bone folder. It does make it finishes your cards off really nicely and nice and crisp. Once you've folded and reinforced those creases, we're then going to stick our DSP that we cut earlier onto the front, and this is just an exact match, so it's the same width and the same depth. So each piece, and that's the largest piece, then the smallest piece is the one for our front flap. And so the idea behind this was to make it look like it was, you know, kind of in the home, sat on some laminate flooring. And then this one is just the piece to kind of carry that theme through on the inside. So just open it up, and again just line that up on the edges, and if it overhangs slightly then you can always just trim that. And then I'm just taking the dimensionals, I've just put 4 on the back there, because you want your stepper to be slightly higher than the rest of your card, so that it stops the card from leaning, it gives something for the easel to rest against. And again, I'm just putting that flush with the front of the card, like so. And I'm just going to pop some glue to pop my kennel and across the dog's bottom. I might actually pop dimensionals on that. Not very straight, is he? There we go. And there you have a quick and easy easel card for our dog who sat very patiently. I hope you enjoy making it. It's a really nice one to start off with, and it's also one that if you send it in the post, people can generally see how it works as well. Sometimes a problem with fancy folds if they have to do something with them, but I find this one people usually understand. So thanks for watching. Come back and see me again soon, and if you'd like to purchase any of the products, pop along to my Stampin' Up shop, heidismith.stampinup.net. I'd be really honoured if you chose me as your demonstrator, and all my customers do get a card and a little thank you as well. So thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye.